If you don't know what Reine Soleil is, it's kind of difficult to look it up because it's French word for the Queen of the Sun. I had a version with English subtitles and it was copyright infringed, which in context would be okay. I'd be okay with it. My only problem with it is that it was released in 2007 and there were no English subtitles released. There were no unofficial English subtitles released. And once I saw that it was on YouTube, the French version, for free, I said, well, damn, I'm going to put some English subtitles in it. Well, they copyrighted everybody, so none of the full versions are up any longer. It had about 3,500 views in no time. There's some demand for it. It had 3,500 views in about a week. The French version was up for about 2 months, and it had almost 100,000 views. So I'll communicate with them and say, I don't, if you want to sell some stuff, sell it. It's your product, but you aren't doing it. It's been 7 years, almost 7 years, and you haven't released a version with subtitles. So I'll correspond with them. I don't know if I'll reach anything, but I'd like to see an English version eventually because it was better than I expected. I thought it would be a little bit cheesy, and it wasn't. It actually was somewhat true to the Africanness of the ancient Egyptians, which is a surprise, even with the blue eyes. Besides that, compared to Hollywood stuff, they looked more like what you see in the artwork than anything released, like compared to the Hollywood stuff. They were just wearing blue contacts. Excuse me if my mic levels are a little off. I'm going to try to make this quick as I preview this debate. It's only a few days away. So I'm going to offer some predictions and also explain it a little bit in simple terms. So I have a friend. He wants to know a little bit about what this debate's about. He's new to some of these conscious community debates. He also wants to know how I feel about Sonetter. I'm cool with Sonetter. I think Sonetter is doing what he needs to do to make money. The Hebrew Israelites might have a message that a lot of people are sick of hearing or whatever, or they might think they're a little koosh. They're educated and they are entertaining. They have some strong voices. They can get into it. They can grind. Sometimes I think they get a little petty. But Sonetter, even though they've kind of got a wrestling-ish persona, Sonetter, I can't knock him for making his dough. And he knows that them Hebrew Israelites sell. Some people like to just hear him get told and all that. Some people think they're kind of clownish. Some people respect their knowledge. Some people are full on into what they believe, full on Hebrew Israelites. And a lot of people are concerned to say Abrahamic culture. So I'm cool with Sonetter. If he was public, I'd say he'd be worth buying stock in, even though what he brings to the table is something that sinks into the conscious slowly, but it does it truly, because whenever you can entertain people, because the Hebrew Israelites are entertaining, the Kemet side is entertaining as well. There's a lot of knowledge, a lot of brain power, so they're entertaining, and you can't knock them for making his money. I don't have any predictions on who is going to win, because my prediction is that it's going to be a stalemate. I don't think anybody's going to be a clear winner. I don't think there's going to be a knockout blow. There are certain things that might cause there to be a knockout blow. It may just get bogged down in you're gay, homosexual accusations. I think neither side really should go that way, because I see no evidence that either culture was anything more than possibly accepting of homosexuality. And I'd be okay with accepting it. Promoting it, that's a different story. I don't see any example, even if there are some gay love in the Bible, in the Torah, I don't see any examples of it being more than accepted. Promoted, so I should say. I don't see any examples, and as long as Kemet was literate, which is for their entire history, fine writings pre-dynastic, and I see no examples of anything being promoted. If it's not promoted, then it's not a non-issue. I don't have a problem with it being accepted, because I've seen the alternative to being accepted, where some dude got burnt alive in Uganda. And I would rather just say, hey, my brothers are programmed to like vagina. I don't think this gay quote unquote agenda is going to unprogram them. It's not going to unprogram me, so I'm not going to place that burden on anybody else and accuse them of being soft enough to become gay because it's on TV or whatever, or there's some gay love in Spartacus. So to me, it's a dead issue, and they shouldn't be bogged down in it. The three things that, in my opinion, will be the debate is lineage and a trinity between religion, spirituality, and science, because that makes the case for whose culture is stronger and why. Lineage is important. The Hebrew Israelites have to display that we are Hebrew Israelites. The Kemet side has to display that the people of the Nile are our ancestors. I think the Kemet side has more, I'm pretty sure they have more ammunition, but they don't really make that case too often. I rarely see them talking about the different tribes that African Americans, it's mostly an American debate. These are people speaking English, mostly people of Moorish or African descent. So I don't see them making this case that they could, that, you know, the tribes that we hail from, they have oral history, they have culture that takes you to the Nile. And you go tribe by tribe, and I haven't seen them go into like the tales of the Bamaliki and how they had pyramids on top of their houses and shit like that. Or the Khan. They don't really drop stuff like that. I haven't heard them. They've talked a little bit about how Ramses III and his son had E1B1A, which takes their paternal lineage into a 30,000 year at least family tree with ancient Egypt, which to me is strong enough. That's hell of a case. So 85% of African Americans can say they're in a 30,000 year family, at least. It's greater than that most likely, because if E1B1A came from the east and there's this giant H2O highway with fish in it, you know brothers like fish, especially catfish, they're going to stop and get some fish. So our ancestors were at the Nile at one point, that's for damn sure. Because I don't see how you can go from Ethiopia to West Africa and not stop and get a catfish dinner. So plus you have the history, you have the culture, you have the language, and that goes into the religion, spirituality. I don't really see many on the Kemet side. Let me just go through who they are. I don't want to really talk too much about them. Maybe I'll give you a few highlights. Kemet side's Polite, Shakka, Ahmose, Jonathan, Rap God, Brother Reggie. I think Brother Reggie will be the XFactor in this debate. I don't know if I have time to really get into why. I want to make this quick. Priest Danyaahla, GABAR. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Zion Lex, Nasi Yashuvel, and Bashar. I think that's his name. I just call him Shar. Shar's a strong voice to do. They really all bring something different to the table. They all have some strengths and weaknesses. The Hebrew Israelite group might be a little bit underrated, because a lot of times when you look at the lack of history, because the people living in Israel right now, they'll kick some Palestinians off their land, drill, looking for some shit, and they don't ever find nothing but some Egypt stuff, you know, some old Canaanite stuff. So, blah, blah, blah. Those are who's in there. I'm thinking Brother Reggie might be important, because I don't really, just like they don't make the case for lineage, I don't really hear them making the case for African spirituality, other than to say, well, this is what Africans should do. And I hear that on the Amun Ra squad. But why don't you go into detail? You know, the ancient Egyptians would sacrifice animals, pour libations, ancestor respect. I know, like, Abrahamics be like, y'all worship old spirits. So, like, man, ancestor respect to the stream when you're mummifying folks with secret doors. And that's just the beginning. It's a traditional African religion. If you're not Christian, if you're not Muslim, and you live in Africa, you're either an atheist or an animist or Hebrew. So I don't really see that whole strong animist voice. Brother Reggie has some of that knowledge, but is he going to bring it out? Is he going to talk about is anybody going to talk about what pyramids were used for? Because they weren't tombs. There was a giant graveyard sitting right next to the pyramids where they buried people in. Kings. It's called, I think it's called the Valley of the Kings. Man, it's a giant graveyard. They don't find no people in the pyramids. But if you look at them closely, you really break down what they're doing. They have some machinery aspects, and I would say that it is an animus machine. So you got people being mummified, you got animus machinery, but you never hear the Kemet side make the argument that this is the beacon, this is the quintessential African spirituality, this traditional African religion as a state power that controlled the world for 3,000 years. Because it really does come down to power. Can the Kemet side make that offensive case that this culture dominated the world from Georgia and America? Well, I don't know if they went to Georgia, but they was in Mexico, because you got pyramids and Nile Valley architecture in the Americas. And also Manding script. So that's really, to me, that's it. Those are the potential knockout blows to make this more of a stalemate. It's just ability to rise above and throw those big blows. And I don't know if they can do that. I'm not sure how the Hebrew Israelite sides can score a knockout blow, but they can keep it close. And basically what I'm saying is, I don't think the Kemet side will score the knockout blow, because they're going to mill around in some homosexuality. They're going to play the Hebrew Israelites game, which is basically a blah 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 fight. I'm just saying. So that's to me what it comes down to. Counterpunching when somebody brings up something new, and your ability to take something that you aren't really ready for and throw it back in their face with some factual information. That's the big tactic. But the real crux of this is lineage, the trinity of religion, science, and spirituality, which defines culture, and power.